Shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to where it's due to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Achakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who were well and who taught us truth. Today's lesson will be entitled somewhere along the lines of, if you do not have the mark of exemption, you are not exempt from the Lord's wrath. Somewhere along those lines. If you don't have the mark of exemption, you are not exempt from the Lord's wrath, because the Lord Yahweh is bringing a very great and terrible day, a scary day. We're coming into scary times, and the Lord is beginning to bring forth judgment. It's like, bear with me. It's like for that. Yeah, I am at work, but I should have a little while to get this lesson out real quick. But it's like for if you hear any background noise. What was I saying? I was going into how we're at the Lord is bringing forth judgment, man. If you don't have that mark of exemption, you're not exempt from receiving that judgment, man. So we'll just get straight into it. Zephaniah 1 and verse 14. The great day of the Lord Yahweh is near. It is near and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord Yahweh, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. So the Lord is bringing forth judgment upon this earth, man. And we're seeing the Lord bringing forth judgment. As it says, every day that the Lord Yahweh Shemi's judgment go forth. It also says in Deuteronomy that the Lord kills and makes alive. And Isaiah 45 and 7 going into that the Lord, creates peace and brings forth evil. So the Lord Yahweh is beginning to bring forth judgment, man. And if you don't have that mark of exemption, there is no escape. That's the only way to escape the Lord's wrath, man, is having that mark of exemption, which we're going to get into. But I just wanted to set the stage with showing that the Lord is bringing forth judgment, man. And the Lord Yahweh Shemi, when he does bring forth that great day, man, that great terrible day, it's not going to be a pretty sight. It's not going to be filled with butterflies, rainbows, hugs, kisses, sugar, spice, everything nice. No, it's very dark, man. Real quick. Let's jump over to, let's see, Amos 5 and verse 18. Amos 5 and 18. You know what? We'll get in the NLT. Amos 5 and 18 in the NLT. What sorrow awaits you who say, if only the day of the Lord Yahweh were here. You have no idea what you are wishing for. You have no idea what the Lord Yahweh Shemi is about to bring, man. We're talking about the worst day, the worst time in history. Worse than anything that humanity has ever been through since the beginning of creation. Worse. You have no idea what you're wishing for, man. It says that day will bring darkness, not light. And that day you will be like a man who runs from a lion, only to meet a bear. Escaping the bear, he leans his hand against a wall in his house, and he's bitten by a snake. There's no escape, man. You run from this trouble, and then there's another trouble. You run from that trouble, you escape that trouble, then you run into another trouble. It's going to be judgment on every side, man. And also, we're going to get into it, actually. We'll continue on. It says, verse 20 in the NLT. Yes, the day of the Lord Yahweh will be dark and hopeless, without a ray of joy or hope. There's not going to be no ray of joy. There ain't going to be no hope in that time, man. The only hope you're going to have is Yahweh Shemi and that mark of exemption. Because even we're going to be tested during that time, but ultimately the Lord is going to be with those who have the mark of exemption, that Tawah. So back in that Zephaniah 1 and verse 14. Zephaniah 1 and verse 14. The great day of the Lord Yahweh is near. It is near and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord Yahweh. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly, man. Even these great men who you think would never show forth their feminine side. No, man, they're crying like little girls, man. It says the strong men will cry out in the NLT. Verse 15 in the KJV. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. It's a terrible day, man, that the Lord is bringing, man. And if you don't have that mark of exemption, you're not going to be protected in that day. Verse 16, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord Yahweh, and their blood shall be poured out as dust and their flesh as dung. So if you don't have that mark, man, then the Lord's going to make sure that you receive your judgment. You're going to feel the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shemi Asai, which is poured out without mixture. Real quick, Isaiah, just painting a picture of what the Lord is bringing forth, man. Isaiah 13 and verse 6. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. This is the day that the Lord is bringing forth, man. This is the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shemi Asai about to engulf the whole earth. Verse 8, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. It says their faces shall be as flames. In the NLT it says verse 8, and people, Slakia. It says verse 8, and people are terrified. Pangs of anguish grip them like those of a woman in labor. So you're going to be so afraid, so anguished, so distressed that you're going to look like a woman giving birth, man. It says they look helplessly at one another. Their faces are aflame with fear. You're going to look at each other. What do I do? And that person going to be like, I don't know. And then they're going to look at you. Well, what do I don't know either. I don't know what we should do. And then you're going to ball up in a corner and cry like a woman in labor. Verse 9 back in the KJV, behold, the day of the Lord Yahweh cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. So if you don't have that mark, man, if you're not covered with the Lord Yahweh Shemi Asai and his mercy and his protection, then you're going to receive that judgment in the full cup of his wrath. That's why we do what we do, and that's why we follow the Lord Yahweh Shemi Asai so earnestly, so fervently, so that we don't receive that wrath, man, so that we can receive that salvation. Speaking to myself first and foremost, this is what we must needs do, man. So let's get this going to that Ezekiel now. Ezekiel 9 and verse 4. And the Lord Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sign that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Now we go into that word mark in the Greek, or not the Greek, but in the Hebrew. Where's it at? Here it is. H8420. Thawa. Thawa says a mark as a sign of exemption from judgment. So the Lord is going to put a mark, a sign of exemption upon the elect. And if you have that mark, then you're not going to receive of the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shemi Asai. Now you may become a martyr, but that's not the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shemi Asai. That's becoming a martyr. And it says that the death of his saints are precious in the sight of the Lord Yahweh Shemi Asai. So if you die for this truth, that's not receiving the wrath of the Lord, man. That's the Lord testing you and seeing if you're willing to die for this. Now, not every individual elect is going to be martyred to die for this truth, but you're going to have some brothers who die for this truth, and you got to be ready for that and understand that is not the judgment of the Lord. That is not the wrath of the Lord, man. That's a beautiful sight. You got to be ready for it. Just because you're a martyr does not mean you didn't have the mark of exemption. So it says, going back, Ezekiel 9 and verse 4, and the Lord Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So the ones who have this mark of exemption is going to be, chanting the downfall of this wicked place, sighing and crying, begging the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua to destroy this place, man. And that's how you know who is of the elect and who is not of the elect, man. Because the hopeful elect is going to be sighing and crying for this place to be destroyed, man. So it says, verse 5, and to the others, so the ones who don't have the mark of exemption, who don't have this tawah, it says, and to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Come on, man. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Show them no mercy. Have no pity. And then LT it says, then I heard, verse 5, then I heard the Lord Yahweh say to the other men, follow him through the city and kill everyone whose forehead is not marked. Show no mercy, have no pity. So if you don't have this mark of exemption, you're not going to see mercy from the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua. You're going to feel the full wrath of the Lord. Verse 6, back in the KJV. You know what? We're going to get in the NLT, man. Verse 6, NLT. Kill them all, old and young, girls and women and little children. So the Lord said, I don't care who they are, man. I don't care how old they are. I don't care how young they are. I don't care their reputation in the world is. If they do not have that mark of exemption, if they do not have that tawah, then kill them. That is the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua. And if you do not have that mark, man, you are going to feel the Lord's wrath. That's why we are doing what we are commanded, so that Lord willing, the Lord puts that mark upon us. That's why we give diligence to make our calling and election sure, study to show ourselves approved, pray, fast, study, keep the commandments to the best of our ability, being brotherly, giving alms, paying tithes, doing what is required of us, man. So that, Lord willing, we have that mark of exemption at the end, enduring unto the end. He that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. We do these things so that, Lord willing, we have a chance, man. We do these things so that, Lord willing, we can have that mark at the end, man, and be protected from the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua. And then NLT it says, but do, continuing on, we'll get verse 6 again. And then NLT, kill them all, old and young, girls and women and little children, but do not touch anyone with the mark. Don't touch, if they don't have that, if they have the mark, don't touch them. Don't kill them. Don't bring forth my wrath upon them. But if they don't have the mark, it's free game. Free game, man. Free killings. It says begin right here at the temple. So they begin by killing the 70 leaders. In the KJV it says, the end part, it says, then they began at the ancient men which were before the house, the leaders of Israel, man. The ones who are proclaiming their leaders, proclaiming this status, that status, but they're not doing what is required of them. They're not following the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua in sincerity and in truth. Because what does it say in 1 Peter? So like 1 Peter 4 in verse 17. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of the Most High. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end of them that obey not the gospel of the Most High? What shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of the Most High? So the Lord is bringing forth judgment, man, and that's starting here. It's starting with in the truth, man. Those who are saying they're Israelites, but they're not doing what is required of them. They're not doing it in sincerity and truth. They're doing it for their own gain, personal gain, filthy lucre's sake, merchandise of the truth, for their own profit, man. Verse 18. And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? And then it says, and also, verse 18, and also if the righteous are barely saved, what will happen to godless sinners? If you don't have that mark of the woman, that mark of exemption, you will be judged. And even us, we're going to scarcely be saved, as it just said. We're going to have to go through this, man. But the difference and the separation between the ones with the tawah and the ones without the tawah is the ones with the tawah is going to be saved and protected by the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua, while the ones without the tawah, the mark of exemption, they will not. have that protection, that hedge, man. There's the times that we're coming into, man. And if you don't have that mark of exemption, basically your ass is grass. Let's get that meaning real quick. At its core, your ass is grass is a way to tell someone they're in big trouble. Yeah, if you don't have that mark of tawad, that mark of exemption, the tawad, then your ass is grass, man. You're in big trouble, dude. It's the kind of warning you might give to signal that consequences are coming and they won't be pleasant. Let's read that again, man. You're in big trouble. It's the kind of warning you might give to signal that consequences are coming and they won't be pleasant. So if you don't have that tawad, man, the consequences aren't going to be pleasant. It says the imagery is vivid. You're about as desirable and powerful in this situation as a patch of lawn ready to be mowed down. When lawn is about to be mowed, man, that grass can't do nothing about it. You got a mower and you got the grass saying, help me, don't mow me down. No. Grass can't do nothing in that situation. Grass can't rise up and say, you're not going to do this. No, it just sits there and it just gets mowed down. That's you. There's nothing that if you do not have the tawad, there's nothing that you can do to save yourself from the Lord's judgment. You got to just sit there, man. And you can try all you want and say, yeah, I don't have the mark of exemption, I don't have the tawad, but I ain't gonna let the Lord do it. And you don't have a choice, my guy. Your ass is grass. It says that you're about as desirable and powerful in this situation as a patch of lawn ready. How powerful when a mower is about to mow lawn, how powerful is grass to say you're not about to cut me down? You're not. It's not. You're that's what you're liking. The people who don't have the tawad and won't have the tawad on that day, that's what you're liking to. You're liking the grass about to get mowed down. You don't have a choice and you don't have a chance in hell. Another meaning you don't have a snowball's chance in hell, man. Look that up. So we'll end it off right here, Isaiah 65. Because the Lord is bringing forth judgment because you don't want to listen. He's bringing that judgment, that wrath upon you because you don't want to listen. If you would hearken and turn back to the Lord, then you might have a chance. Isaiah 65, we'll start at verse 12. Therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter. You're going to die, man. Why? Why, Lord? Why are you going to kill me? Why are you going to number me to the sword? Because when I called, you did not answer. When I spake, you did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. So I'm gonna bring forth judgment. You're not gonna have that mark of exemption, that tawad, because you didn't want to listen. And ultimately, I didn't choose you. Ultimately, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, I'm killing you because I didn't choose you to be saved from the beginning, man. Verse 13. Therefore say, it's like getting a little excited. Going off right here. Therefore, thus said the Lord power Yahweh, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. They have the tawad, and you don't. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. They have the tawad, but you don't. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. They have the tawad, and you don't. You don't. Therefore, I'm going to bring forth wrath and judgment upon you. That's what the Lord is saying, man. You don't have the tawad. That means you're fair game to be judged and receive the wrath. Verse 14. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit, man. Because they have the tawad and you don't. That means you're fair game, man. Fair game, man. So if you don't have that mark of exemption, you're fair game, man, to the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the spirit, to the body, to the fold. And before I end off, I'd like to go out praises, honor, and glory towards you too. Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Chakwadash, and double honors as always to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, Shalom.